let's talk about imposter syndrome with Ashley Lyon. Hey, everybody. Oh, I did it. It works.
Yay.
All right. I didn't screw it up this time, guys. I'm so proud of myself.
This is awesome.
All right. Everybody, welcome back to yet another. You're going to squander yet another evening, another Wednesday night with us on the V Brown Bag. Welcome. Ashley Lyon, we are very excited to have you on. When you said that you wanted to talk about this topic, I was like, Ashley, what? Because I just assume that as a senior product manager over at AWS, like you've got it dialed in. Like you are, like you know where the T's and the T's get crossed and the I's get dotted, and that you just got your shit together. So I'm very excited to hear about your take on this topic because I suffer from it. And Damien, Shala, what about you guys? You know what? I've never even asked.
About imposter syndrome?
Yeah.
I think I've struggled with it in the past. It's not something that I currently struggle with, but yes, definitely in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Shala?
Same. In the past, when I first started in IT, because I got thrown into the whole network engineer fire with no training. But quickly during that, I learned to change my frame of thinking where I don't deal with imposter syndrome anymore because of the way, like when I just really broke down the definition, I'm not a fraud. Like I tell it exactly how it is if I don't know something, whatever. So I'm just like, what do I have to feel imposter syndrome about? So that's how I got past it.
And comments from Richard Boyd, appropriate as always, Mr. Boyd. Awesome. Okay. Well, Ashley, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you on. I know that you're not in your house. I know that you're in a undisclosed location right now. So if we lose you or something, we'll riff and we'll make it up. We'll jazz hands until you pop back on. So don't worry about it whatsoever.
Well, my computer's plugged in, so I'm not going to lose battery. If something else happens, well, we'll just roll with it. It'll be great. We'll fix it in post, right?
We can do that? We will absolutely fix it in post.
We always fix it in post.
Okay, cool.
We're actually kind of good at it now.
It's fun.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. This is really cool. And I think when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, I was looking at all of the other topics that have been covered here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna bring anything here to come and build, and was starting to like get the little feelings of imposter syndrome. I'm like, that's what I should talk about. Like, that makes sense. This is exactly the right thing to cover because it's something that is definitely, it doesn't discriminate. Everybody has it. Or even if you don't realize what the name of it is, maybe you haven't named it or not really sure if what you've experienced is that, but it's something that a lot of people do experience and a lot of people don't talk about. So I figured let's talk about it and see what that looks like in case somebody wants to know what that looks like.
So do you have a definition of imposter syndrome, or are we all just gonna kind of talk about our own opinions?
Yeah, okay. we've talked about it. We have asked, do we have it? But we haven't actually said what it is yet. That's a great point.
So at the end, we'll reveal the definition. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll be like one of those late night medicine commercials. Do you suffer from this, and this? Well, you could be dying. And then at the end of 30 minutes, then give them the snake oil.
Yep.
Exactly. Like I should have queued up like someone running through a field or some sort of like inspirational sporting event with kids. And
why is Chris on horseback riding down the beach? It's so weird.
Happy gray-haired people at a barbecue, you know.
Yes, there will be a quiz. I see this.
Why are Chris and Damien in two bathtubs looking over the water?
We can hold hands while the sun sets.
Well, I'm so used to it.
No, they'll be like in their bathtubs and we'll just be staring at them like, oh, okay. Do what you gotta do. That's your imposter syndrome path, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, so imposter syndrome, it's basically a mental pattern that people experience that you start to feel doubt about your abilities or your accomplishments, and it's really, you get this feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm a fraud. Like, what if they find out? When in reality, it may not actually be the case. It's a lot of this self-doubt, and I'm feeling as if maybe you're experiencing it by yourself, and you don't want anybody to know that you're doubting yourself, because if they find out, then what if you get fired? What if you like all of a sudden lose respect, or they stop giving you opportunities? Like, all of these different things may come into your mind as you start to tell yourself, oh, maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. When in reality, you're probably really good at it. And you might even be like going to the point of perfectionism to try to like tell yourself, hey, like if I do the most and over prepare and basically align with perfectionism, like maybe they won't find out I'm a fraud. And so it's like it's overwhelming, it's exhausting. And then you don't talk about it with anyone. That's the other fun part, is like you don't want anybody to know. So that's imposter syndrome kind of in a nutshell, but it's really, I feel like it, like grief, it kind of, everybody can have their own version of it too. So I really am interested, like, how has it shown up for you in the past?
Who should we start with? Ashley, you're the guest. You pick.
Oh, okay. Well, Damien, I think that you sounded like you wanted. You were thinking about it.
You know, I actually can't really remember. I know that I felt it before, but I don't know if I can really remember the kind of circumstances behind it. I actually just dealt with a whole lot of burnout, which is a different type of mental BS to deal with. And so just like having recovered from that burnout, like everything else is just kind of behind that, right? If that makes any sense.
Nope, it does.
So we lost Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's coming back.
Maybe he's having some imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like he's like, I need to go. They're going to call me out.
Yes. Why can't I hold hands with Damien in a bathtub?
Oh my God.
I do wonder though, is imposter syndrome something like, does it develop over time, or is it something that maybe you think about yourself already? And the reason why I'm asking, so
Yeah.
my wife is not an IT person, right? However, in her most recent role, she's had to do a lot of things, right? Like working with REST APIs and JSON web tokens and like understanding the software development stuff. And she's the first one to say, well, I don't really know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, damn it, woman, stop saying that. You do know what you're talking about, you know?
Yeah.
And I've had other coworkers, I had an amazing program manager at my previous employer, and she would always say, well, I'm not very technical. And I was like, you absolutely are. You're in the conversations. You're saying the things, right? But I don't think that was something that they that developed. They probably just entered into that situation thinking that about themselves.
Yeah, actually, so that could be how it shows up for people, like, especially if they're talking to someone that is an expert in that area, and they're trying not to oversell, like, hey, I do actually feel good about this, just in case you're the expert and thinking, well, you're not that good. And like that's kind of like the story that could be building in someone's mind. So they kind of lessen and say, oh, well, yeah, I'm not that technical. But in reality, you're trying to validate to them, like, you actually are. Like, give yourself some credit, because they're not giving themselves any credit. So it's good to hear when you call it out. So that's a great way to help somebody too. But yeah, like your wife too, like as you were like saying all the things that she has to do, it's like, and she's definitely, like, she knows what she's talking about if she has to do those things and is repeating those things. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's not like someone's gonna like hand you an award and say, "Congratulations, you're technical," right? It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
Uh,
And even if they did, would you even believe it? Right. So like if you're struggling with imposter syndrome, you'd be like, this isn't even real. Why would you give this to me? Did you mean this for someone else? Or they wouldn't tell anybody that they got it because they didn't think they deserved it.
Are you giving this to me sarcastically? What
Yeah.
is this? Is this a joke?
Exactly. Yeah, it's actually, I took the solutions architect associate certification, and I didn't feel comfortable enough. Like there was a chance that I could pass, but I told myself, like, if you pass, you're gonna have to live with the fact that you just passed that, and you don't feel like you have the skill set to match the fact that you just got that certification. I failed by like 60 points. And I had just a sigh of relief because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I failed because I didn't feel prepared enough to feel like I earned it. Even if I like actually did the work and did prepare for it, like my bar didn't match what reality was. So it's around like the story that you tell yourself. It's really
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
I failed an exam once, a certification exam, and that hurt. It hurt. It's the only one I failed. But yeah, it actually took a lot for me to try again, right? And even now, every
Mhm.
time I hit that like final submit your answers button, right? It's like, am I going to get fireworks or not?
Mhm.
You know, I think it's the Microsoft exams that do fireworks, but yeah, yeah.
Oh, does it really?
That's
I
fun.
think so. I think it's like a little animated thing, but yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
That
like a really good time, actually. I don't know that I'm going to go and start preparing for more certs, but if I do, that might actually be a sell.
So, do you mind if I ask if you went back and passed that cert?
I did not go back, but I intend to go back.
Mhm.
And I felt proud at the score that I got because I was so close to passing. It was like, oh my gosh, like this is really great. So it still felt like a win, but
Mhm.
then I didn't have to carry around like the dread of, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell anybody that I passed because I don't think that I earned it. Like yeah,
It's
bizarre
just like with everything else. Like no one really cares if you barely passed or if you ace the test. A
thing. Mhm.
pass is a pass, right? It's
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So Amy Hamilton in the audience just brought up a
Yeah.
really interesting point. Being self-deprecating can be a mask for, I'm going to point out my perceived faults before you. We both know I'm not good enough, but I want you to know that I know. That actually ties into what Ashley and I were talking about my consulting tactic. um, when I was back when I was an enterprise architect and I was doing consulting, I would go into these Fortune 100s and they were paying a lot for me to like be in the room. And what I would do to kind of break the ice, but also set them back and kind of like show vulnerability and have everybody else start to be vulnerable too, is I would walk in and introduce myself as the dumbest person in the room. Now, it was a tactic that I used to disarm people, but it was also a little bit of imposter syndrome because 9 times out of 10, when I was being thrown into these projects, half the technology stack I hadn't even heard of until like when my PM said, "Hey, you need to go here and help these people with problem X," and I'm like, "I don't know anything about that." Like, well, you know the other the other 50% of it, so knock yourself out, Chris. So I'd go in there and just start asking dumb questions. Most of the dumb questions were very tactfully sectioned out so that people would start explaining their architectures to each other and then have them get into the arguments that I needed them to get into to like work out their problems. But the other half of it was me genuinely not knowing how the hell anything worked in their environment and trying to figure things out.
Yep.
So it was half imposter syndrome, half psychological Jedi mind trick to get them to like get in their get along t-shirts. So that's a really great point, Amy.
Yeah. And
Shala,
I
what
think
about you? Yeah,
I was gonna
sorry.
say, I think no, you're fine. Like, when it comes to like what Chris was just saying, which also, piggybacks to Damien, is there is an art to getting comfortable with asking dumb questions.
Yes.
And Chris is definitely someone who's helped me done that because we've been in meetings together. And it's just like a lot of times people have the same dumb question, but are afraid to ask it. And so you end up asking it. And all of a sudden, instead of being like the dumb person in the room, you're getting like accolades for asking the dumb question because everyone else had the question too. So I've
Right.
learned to get over that. And then going back a little bit further, so for me, imposter syndrome showed up as a physical feeling. So it was a ball, like a knot in my stomach type feeling. It was me not eating. It was me constantly like physically, mentally afraid, where I was just like, oh my God, they're gonna find out that I'm a fraud and I'm gonna get fired. And I needed hugs every day after work until one day I woke up and I was like, you know what? No. I tell them all the time. When we first set down this path, I clearly said, y'all know I haven't done this before. We all know that. We're all aware. And they're like, yeah, we didn't pick you for that. We picked you because, you're good about realizing what skills you're lacking, studying for it, and then coming with the win. And so once I started thinking about it that way, I was just like, it's not imposter syndrome. What I'm really going through is, yes, I have a lack of skills and I need to close that skill gap, and then I'm okay. And so I was like, okay, I'm fine. And that was helpful because I would say I could have easily fell into imposter syndrome again when I started as a DevOps engineer, because that was another role where I was just like, I don't know any of this stuff. This wasn't even in my plans to do. And I'm working with people who have like 15 plus years of experience. But I was like, nope, I felt this feeling before. What I'm going to do is learn from my teammates. I'm not going to compare myself to them because they have 15 years ahead of me. I'm not going to catch up. What I can do is compare myself to where I was day 1 to 6 months to a year later, 2 years later. That's what I focus on. What am I struggling with? And I just study up, and that's what makes me confident. And then I embrace fear, where it's okay to be scared. And so I allow myself to feel fear, and I use that to plan contingencies. And that's how I end up coming out with wins, because I embrace the fear and I just plan for it. So
That's awesome. Like, I like how you just said about embracing the fear, because I don't know if it was like a couple months ago or weeks ago. Time is just a social construct, so I don't even know. But there was like this image going around of like, if you're scared, do it scared, or if you're worried, do it worried. Like, just start doing it. And so like the whole like channeling the fear into that, like I think that's great, because it is kind of like Jedi mind tricking yourself a bit and like changing your mindset, and it's a practice thing too. So
yeah,
there's no reason to make anybody think that, oh well, yeah, Shala just like flipped a switch and it was great. It was like, did you stumble at all with it? Like, was it like, yeah, you gradually, you knew that you wanted to commit to it, and then like maybe there were like some hiccups where you still felt it, but then eventually it just kind of balanced itself out? Like, was that an experience that you had with it?
what it was I have 2 experiences. Me as the DevOps engineer, so that's like way more fresh. That's within like the last 2 years. And then as a network engineer for the first time, that was like several years ago, but I still remember it because it was terrible. It was very rewarding, but it was very stressful. And like when I say like I had a pit in my stomach every day and I was not eating, I was not sleeping, it was not a good time, but it was a good time because I learned a lot and I learned how strong I was and stuff like that. So what happened is I started realizing that, things weren't failing, because with the network engineering thing, my greatest fear was, oh man, like all the networks, they're going to go down and we're going to lose a bunch of money and it's just going to be like awful. That didn't happen. Actually made the network better. So I just got more and more confident. Same with DevOps engineering. I was just like, okay, Charlotte, we've been here before. Majority of my career has been what I call baptisms by fire, where I just kind of get thrown into something, not knowing how to do it. And so I was just like, okay, just work the problem. I share this all the time. Obama has a clip, and that helped me a lot with the DevOps engineer thing, where he was just saying, and paraphrasing real quickly, that whatever gets thrown your way to work on, like, just get it done. Don't sit there and explain 50 different ways why the issue happened. Instead, be the person that says, you know what, let me handle that. I'll take care of it. And then actually take care of it. And I just keep that momentum all the time, where it's like, just work the problem. Just use logic, take a few breaths and all that kind of stuff, and just work the problem. And then that always keeps me like good.
Yeah, like you have like this anchor that you can come back to of like kind of resetting. And I really like that, because when I was thinking about how could we talk to like what can you do, part of it is like taking stock in what is actually real, right? So you're so overwhelmed. It's like, okay, well, what are you overwhelmed about? And then
Yeah.
Is there actually reality? Like, if it's not, cross it off the list, because it's not real. It's just a shadow that you can just like ignore that it's there, because it's not actually something that's happening. And like keep grounding yourself there, and you might have to do it a couple times, and that's totally okay.
Hustle that you work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that reminds me, real quick. So I ended up taking cognitive behavioral therapy because it was free during COVID at my employer at the time, and I was trying to figure out like my career, like what did I want to do next, and that helped me figure it out. But one of the things I learned was to stop treating emotions either negative or positive. So these days, ever since then, for years now, what happens is I don't look at an emotion as negative or positive. It's just my body reacting to something. It's like having your alarms and signal lights in the car to tell you like, oh, there might be something wrong with their engine. That's all my emotions are doing. And so I just use those emotions, and what you just did, talked about, I use that to pinpoint, okay, how am I feeling, like physically, mentally, what's causing them? And then once I get to that, I go, okay, what can I actually do that are actionable? And that helps me realize often there's very little that you can control in life. And once you kind of understand that, for me personally, it always takes pressure off, and I feel so much better, because I'm like, I can really only control this part, so that's what I'm going to focus on, and then it just takes so much stress away.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Damien and Chris, like, what do you guys think?
We're getting deep here. This is awesome.
Yeah. I was actually thinking, you can only control so much. I was like, yeah, and sometimes some asshole tells you got to move back to work in the office. So
sometimes that does happen.
Sorry. Chris,
I'm gonna get another drink.
His camera's gonna go off again.
we're running into technical difficulties, everybody. We gotta go. Okay.
Yeah, it's like that thing from The Simpsons where it's like the drunk camera guy. It's technical difficulties.
Oh no, he's gone. Where did Chris go? Oh.
So what I was thinking about when I was hearing you talk, Shala, about kind of remembering what you've gone through in the past, that was something that I'd used in my own personal life when dealing with, this is really kind of a little bit off topic, I think, from imposter syndrome, but, having gone through like profoundly traumatic events in my life, whether it's losing someone you love or getting a divorce or a breakup, right? It's only because I lived long enough that I could look back and I could say, I went through this before and I survived it. Like, this isn't going to kill me, right? Like,
Yeah.
I wish I could fast forward through this BS, but like, it's not going to kill me, and the cognitive behavioral therapy kind of examining those emotions, that's also kind of a meditation practice as well, as just sitting there and just not acting upon the nonsense that flows through your consciousness, but just acknowledging it and then
Mhm.
doing whatever you want to with that information later, right?
Yeah.
Because we all get urges like, oh, I should eat all this chocolate, or I should I should
I don't know
blow
what
up
that's
at
like.
yeah,
don't
neither
know
do
what
I.
you mean.
Yes, and whenever I do get the urge
Can you see
about
the
chocolate,
in my never mind.
yeah, I say yes, I should eat all that chocolate.
There's a wrapper over here.
Yeah,
Just off camera.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
It's fine. You don't see all the Hershey Kisses over here. Just kidding.
But yeah, being able to kind of step outside of that moment and examine that, I think is a really good practice to be in, right? And it'll help with more than just work. And
Mhm.
also, Shala, what you were describing sounded to me like anxiety,
Mhm.
just like straight up regular old treatable anxiety.
And that's
fun
the
about
other thing.
Imposter syndrome and anxiety and depression, they love to hang out with each other. Like that
Yeah.
was also something that I read about. It was like, oh my gosh, they like it's very common for those to be linked together.
Mhm.
So you might not even know that it's imposter syndrome or like a flavor of it. Because
Right.
it's
Yeah,
almost like
because-
a topping on top of your anxiety ice cream. Like it's just, yeah.
If
Yep.
you've got imposter syndrome, you might as well start beating yourself up over it and get depressed and get spun up too. It's
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. They're gonna find out. They're gonna find out you're a fraud. Like, just kidding.
Yeah.
Everyone, that is not what happens.
That's
And,
just how you feel.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
you feel. It's not real.
So I have taken down production, right? Like I have disrupted the business. I have deleted
Oh, yeah.
things that I shouldn't have deleted. Like I've effed it all up. And
Actually,
I
we
didn't
talk about that. Like, because if you can recover from that, I unpublished an entire company's website
right.
because I was just trying to publish something on the homepage, took the whole thing down. I
Right.
was 3 weeks into the job. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm done. This is
That's
the
like
end
a
of
whole like
yeah. I'm like, can they get it back? I don't know if they can get it back. Like it was really, really scary. But they were like, oh, thank you for doing that because that tells us we actually needed to have like
Mhm.
a guardrail there that would prevent somebody from actually doing that. So sorry that you had to experience the panic, but thanks for highlighting the issue.
That's
Anyway,
when
I
you
know
go
I
like,
just
"You're
Right.
welcome. I need a raise because I'm an amazing QA."
exactly.
exactly.
What else do you want me to try to break?
Yeah.
What's in there?
I will hose everything. Give
Mhm.
me the keys. I'll take care of this.
Yeah, I can
Like,
just click
seriously.
on stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
fishing. Let's go fishing.
Yeah.
No, just kidding, Damien. I like jumped right in because I was so excited to tell you about me on publishing the website, but you were gonna like share your story. Sorry.
No,
about
no. I wasn't going to share like a specific story, but as much as saying that, having that fear of the worst thing will happen, like when it does, it's usually kind of a not that exciting,
Mhm.
It's like, well, the worst
Mhm.
thing did happen and I still went home on time.
That part.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I still lived,
Mhm.
everyone was okay.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
didn't crap your pants this time. Great
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a market improvement.
They didn't
Yes.
say don't
Yeah.
come in tomorrow. Like your badge
Right.
still
Yeah.
works.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also something that you learn through maturity, the first time you mess up production is terrifying, but the second or third time it's like, I've done this before.
Like it's fine. I have a badge of honor. Like I have a whole badge, like my jacket for this.
Yeah.
I'll
'Cause I
break
messed
that
around
before that
and-
breaks me. Like, is that
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah, because I
Honestly,
messed around and took down downtown, like the whole downtown network. And I was just like, oops.
That was what you talked about on Bomble's show, right? When you dropped.
Yeah, I was
when you
like,
dropped
I fired. It's only been 3 weeks. Like my imposterness has been found out. I'm gonna get fired. It's over. It's done. No one will hire me again. But of course, that's not what happened.
Right.
Nope.
Right. Well, that's
it's,
when you do.
It's kind of funny
Yeah.
that a lot of the things that you used to have imposter syndrome about, when you're brand new in the field and you're just getting into it, you're going to feel it because you're looking at these people that have been doing the thing that you're a junior at. They've been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. And you're just like, oh my God, I'm never going to get that far. And then you spend 10 years in tech or 5 years in tech or whatever. And then you realize like, oh, and then you start making all of these mistakes. You start breaking stuff and you start oopsing. And then there's this magical period where you start writing architectures or you start thinking about like, here's the 10 ways that I screwed this up in my career. So we should write a document that makes, and everybody's like, wow, why did you think about that? That's so smart, Chris. I'm like, no, it's because I hosed an entire organization's Active Directory structure because I moved the PD. I'm telling my age here, but because I depromoed the PDC and we only had BDCs in the environment, and then everything went to hell because they didn't auto. Never mind.
Yes. Active Directory replication is amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, until it doesn't work, and then you're
until it
screwed.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's experience, it's exposure, and then so you get good at that thing, and then you move on to like the next phase of your career, and then you get imposter syndrome again because you're in this next phase where you're like, oh well, I haven't done this before, and then you have to remember that it's a cycle, especially in tech, in tech. Everything changes so fast here that you're never gonna be that person that you want to be, but you can be a little bit closer to it every day.
That's such a good point. And when I was looking at like how does this impact developers in particular and people in tech, and it's around actually that point of it's constantly changing. So you constantly have to be learning new skills or keeping up with skills that you have. And it almost feels like maybe you never reach that like achievement feeling or like that you're good at anything because you have to learn everything. Mm-hmm. And for some people, it like can get so bad that they just quit their jobs and they quit being a developer because they're like this, I can never win. But then there's others where it's kind of like just feeling really hard or feeling insecure about what their skill set actually is. And it makes me wonder, like, as we talk about this, how should we be showing up for people that are just starting out and that are early in their career, or they're starting a new role, or the space is completely new? Like, what should we be doing to help people know that like it's completely okay to feel like you have no idea what's going on, but like just know you have a network here that's going to help you? Like how do you guys do that as far as like do you have any like things that you like to do to help coach or create that space for someone to feel like they can ask questions and be a little bit vulnerable at being like, hey, like, does this all seem crazy? Can anyone give me a gut check on it? Like, how have you experienced that and tried to like, I guess, pay it forward and create the space for others? And if not, how do you want to?
So I have mentored folks before.
Okay.
Specifically like trying to mentor people who might be newer in their career, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, I have gray hair. I've lived through the nonsense. Like, how can I help you live through less nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So, mentoring is a good place to start. Just saying it out loud, like you might feel overwhelmed, and that's okay. And you can always just reach out to me. Being kind and human goes a long way, I don't know. Who else has ideas?
I mean, I think it all boils down to just having the empathy to give people space and learning how to communicate with it. Remembering where you were when you were in that position, and giving them what you needed when you were in that position, whether that be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how to tackle that particular problem, or just take them out for a cup of coffee. I also mentor, and I have a bunch of folks that I help along, or that I have helped along and that have flourished amazingly as a result of it. So yeah, it's be human. Is follow the golden rule.
Yeah, that's really good. Shala, do you have anything that you've tried or that you've experienced? And I think it also, like, have you had other people do things to make you feel comfortable enough to ask questions? And
Yes, I
that's
was
a question
gonna.
yeah.
Yes, I was gonna share one thing that's made me feel comfortable. As far as like what I do, I just try to talk to everyone the way that I would talk to me in the past when I was starting out, because I still remember what that was like. So I always kind of come from that perspective. Um, just like now, I guess I could say I have imposter syndrome at times because people do ping me a lot, either at work or outside of work. If I could be a mentor for them and I haven't like pushed that button yet, I'm always like, I'm not like a mentor, but feel free to ask me questions. But things that always help me is the person that you look up to at work that has like that 15 years of experience using Chat GPT just like you do. Because they're like, I've never used this before, or GitHub Copilot. That's always where I'm just like, you know what? We're all people. We're all learning. We all start from somewhere. It's a matter of you don't always know all the things. It's just a matter of how you go about learning the things, and kind of walking that tightrope of saying I don't know something, or just kind of being like, let me go figure this out for you, type situation.
I really liked earlier when you were talking about how, like, asking the question that everybody was thinking. And it made me think about, like, how many meetings are we in where, like, people are slacking back and forth, like, hey, what do you think that is? And they're not actually asking the question out loud.
And no one wants to do it.
Yeah, and like you can reply back and be like, yeah, you should really ask that. No one asks it. And sometimes it's like, okay, well, if they're not going to ask it, I don't know if it's blaming the fact that I have ADHD or if it's just who I am as a person. But sometimes I can't help but not ask it because I'm like, sometimes what's the worst that's going to happen? Sometimes I don't want to say anything because you're like, the vibe seems off. Maybe I'll let others lead the conversation a bit and just see how it goes.
Yeah, it's the reading of the room. Honestly, like, if I'm being completely candid, there's definitely been times where for me, sometimes I hold myself back because, I am female working in tech. And so sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to be, the dumb female. So, but I got over that. I was just like, whatever. Like, I know I'm capable and I just ask it and it tends to always go well. So,
yeah. That's actually really, that's so interesting. I'm working more closely with engineers and developers, and that has been like asking them whatever questions. I'm like, hey, so this might be dumb, and I shouldn't even be starting the question with that because it's already because it's like, why am I doing that? But I don't realize that I shouldn't say it until after the words fell out of my mouth, so that I just keep going and just ask them the question, and they're like, oh, well, let me see if I understand what you're asking, and here's how that thing works. And I lived. They answered the question, and I was able to just turn around and go back to work. Like, yeah.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah, and that dumb female thing that you mentioned, Shala, I want to swear at that concept, but this is a family show, Chris. I keep reminding you about that.
I apologize. I did
not reminding Chris about that. I'm dying.
Yeah, that makes me so upset. Like, sometimes I wish I had kind of the unearned confidence of some like tech bro, right? Like, and I wish that a lot of other people could do the same, right? Like, just bullshit your way into a $10 million venture capital round. Like, just bullshit, right? Like, that's so. Yeah.
There was I saw this meme on I saw this meme on Blue Sky the other day, and it said, "Just I'm trying to remember the words. Just remember, there is a rock stupid idiot who's making 10 times as much as you are right now
Mhm.
because they're too dumb to realize that they're not good enough to be doing the job that they're doing."
Yeah.
Something to that effect. And that I read that, and that just haunted me. And I was like, that is so accurate, especially now. We just see so many dumb people just like making so much money out there, and you're like, how why? I know so many smart people that are struggling.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
like there seems to be a bit of an imbalance. But even looking at like the dumb people that you're describing, there's like where's the confidence coming from? What if I like cosplayed them to have the confidence to then like go through like I actually said that at one point. I'm not going to say when because it doesn't matter. Remember, time is a social construct. But I was like, yeah, I'm totally cosplaying in this particular role because it's like, yeah, eventually it will feel like this is what I'm doing and this is who I am. But yeah, it's like, okay, if I can get into character of it, it's almost like the same idea of like dress for the role that you want to have or whatever the saying is. And yeah, so like if you're not sure, cosplay that role until you feel good about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the cosplaying thing. But yeah, I do wonder where some people's confidence comes from. You know,
It's wild.
I wish you could bottle it and sell it because I would buy some of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dress like the guy from Monopoly from now on every day.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be the Monopoly dude.
That was a guy did that at a congressional hearing. I
Yes.
remember
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, that's incredible. Oh my god. Yeah. That was
He
awesome.
positioned
If that's what you
himself
were
right
referencing-
behind.
Yeah.
He positioned himself right behind. It was like a Bernie Madoff type character, somebody that had ripped off people for millions and millions of dollars. He was just back there.
Yeah.
Like
Actually, I thought it was a leader of a tech company. I think I'm not going to say which one, but I'm pretty sure it was like at one of those hearings for like a tech. It was like a tech CEO.
So like I said, some guy that had ripped off people for billions of dollars.
The internet says that it was a hearing on a data breach that Equifax experienced.
Oh.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Wild time.
Nice.
That was back in 2017.
Wow.
Was that really 2017? Oh man.
Yeah, it was in
known
the
as,
before times.
Yes. Otherwise known as 1,000 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Talking about pre-pandemic or saying, oh, in 2019, but it's been 5 years.
Right.
Like what? It's like, oh my gosh. I overheard somebody say that, be like, it was 5 years ago though, so I don't know why they keep talking about it. It's like, but it feels like yesterday and also like another century. Like it is.
Time is a social construct.
Yeah, I always think back to it's escaping me right now, but the Marvel movie, the Avengers where they had like the blip years where people were just kind of gone for a while and then they blipped back. That's what it feels like.
Endgame or the last ones.
Yeah,
the ones with Thanos.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's that's still just like a whole strange, interesting thing to me because I had personally never lived through a pandemic. So yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
What y'all say?
I'm old and I hadn't.
Yeah, guys, what was it like in the other pandemics that you've been to?
Back before fire was invented.
I'm with you. I've never done that before.
Because I still remember when people were trying to like Google how long does a pandemic last, and I'm like, I don't think that's how that works.
The Spanish flu was a pretty tough time in my childhood.
Yeah, I mean that was tough. Not as bad as polio, though. I mean,
right.
When we had to ride our dinosaurs to the school, I mean, it was tough. It was tough back
Hills uphill, both ways.
Yes,
both ways in the snow. You know how it goes.
I've heard about it. I haven't lived it though.
You youngsters with your cars and your internet.
I was just looking at something that I should have asked if we could like share this prior. I just dropped a link in like different channel. I don't know if we can share it, but there was this post that I came across, and the title was "How to Know If I'm a Real Developer." Because essentially, this person that posted said that their manager said, "Hey, that they're not a real developer yet," and they're like, "How do I know if he's right?" And they basically they explain what happened and everything. But the coolest part is not the original post, but the fact the person kept coming back and giving updates of where they were in their career, and like basically. Yeah, so this post, like you can see it of like, here's the original one, and then they've edited it, added an update. Here's what happened in November 2020. Like they've been a full stack engineer for the last 2 years. And then they did another update in July 2023 and just said that now they're managing a team. And like you can definitely overcome it and believe in yourself and all these different things. And I was like, that is the coolest post.
That's awesome.
And such a great example of like, hey, like this is what it looks like for the cycle of doubt. Like you can actually like move through it. It's not a forever thing. Yeah.
And for those that are watching in the future, I will put this in the show notes for the edited version so that you can read that as well and gain some inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I hadn't seen that one before.
Yeah. It was
nice.
Yeah, it was really, really, it was neat. I was like, oh my gosh, I wished everybody did that. That would be fantastic.
I would say you're a real developer when you've messed up production.
Yeah.
When you've broken a build, when you've committed, like done a dirty commit to GitHub, something. That's when you've made it. It's yep. I just published a password, there you are. You're a real developer now.
Oh,
you take a selfie
I was a real
and
developer
it's all in the background.
10 years ago. Password 123. What?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We could do this all night long, obviously, because we've all made so many mistakes. But we are at the end of time now. I did run Shala will be very proud of me. I ran the giveaway tool. I found a winner. Amy, congratulations. Amy Hamilton. I left you the link to find me on LinkedIn. Or if you just Google Mistwire on, I'm like the first 3 pages of hits. So I'm very easy to find online. I'll be happy to get you your AWS compute credits. Congratulations. You've won $50 in compute credits. Huzzah.
Oh my goodness. Fun fact about Amy. Amy is my mom. And she almost didn't come. She was going to go and watch something else for one of my other siblings. So the fact that she was even here, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, she's here. And then I'm watching the chat. She's been very active. Yeah. Way to go, Mom. Like crushing it.
So she like we have this giveaway tool. Hold on, I'll share the screen now. We have this giveaway tool that picks a winner for us.
Oh my goodness.
Randomly out of people that are engaged in the chat, and yeah, she popped up, so she wins.
Oh my gosh.
Compute credits with a daughter that works in AWS. So
how exciting for you.
Okay. Actually, real talk. MS is saying pick me. Does Amy need the compute credits, or if MS has expressed a need?
I'll let her speak, but if she's already left the chat, I think that we can let her feel excited about the fact that she was the winner, but I don't think that she needs the credits at all. I think that she would be happy to share them. And
you are her daughter. Does she have an AWS account?
Absolutely not. No.
MS, congratulations. You've won $50 in AWS compute credits.
So you said no, she can use them. No, she cannot. Okay. They are all yours.
Okay, that's awesome.
And
my mom is watching this one too. So
I love that.
1, 2, 3. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi.
Okay, MS, you find me on the social medias, DM me on LinkedIn or something, and we should come up with a password so that not just I get randoed by a whole bunch of people. The password is zipper. All right. If you say zipper to me in DMs and you say that you're MS, then I will know it's you.
And
I'm
now all of
sorry.
your messages will be zipper, I'm MS. So
I think he's the last one in here. So,
Okay.
or she. So, yeah.
How did you think that one was going to work, Chris?
I was just trying to think of a password.
I'm not. You know what? I'm done.
that actually plays perfectly in the post-it with the password at the bottom, and you just actually include. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Password 123 or zipper.
Oh my gosh.
We'll
All
fix
right.
it in post. It's fine.
Well, everybody have a wonderful. Ashley, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your
Yes.
insights.
Yeah.
It was wonderful having you on, and I'll see you at the AWS Summit in New York.
Sure. Yeah.
Is
I
it-
haven't
are
picked
you gonna
which
be there?
ones I like. I don't know exactly which ones I'm going to, but I will try to attempt to go to that one because yeah, it would be great.
I will be at all of the stateside AWS summits this year.
Okay. I'll keep you in the
DC,
loop.
New York, and the one in California, I believe. So,
Cool. Great. Awesome.
All right.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
all right, everybody,
Thanks,
have a
Jordan.
wonderful evening. MS ping me, and we will see you all again next time.
Have a good one.
Later.
Bye.